I'm going to take the next 15 minutes and talk a little bit about myself, but less about myself and more about the journey that had me look at learning differently, had me look at what I was seeking in my career a bit more expansively, that looking at my career knowing that I wanted to do more and that I wanted to make sure that I was having an impact. So briefly, my roots are deeply seated in learning, academically as well as professionally. You can see some of the things that I've done here. But the thing is, I look back at my career that I say to myself, man, I know if I'd only been smarter and looked more deeply sooner, I would have noticed this right away. There were three constants in every job change, every assignment I took on, and frankly, my personal fulfillment when it came to my role. Education. Either I was learning or I was training somebody else. The second thing was technology. I call it technology, but it's really process improvement. It's making things better. It's making things work. And then finally, change. And I realized soon that if people weren't ready for change, that they couldn't cope with change. And so I defined the transformation readiness model, which has the 6 fields that help people actually get ready for a successful change. Well, all of those are great, right? And so now I know what makes my trigger actually flip. And all of that is great, but it was just recently, in fact, when I took the job at Igloo a couple of years ago, that I realized an important element, that all of those characteristics were necessary, but what really made something more fun than others, which in my world, as is yours, I'm sure, makes it so that you're able to engage more and do better and really help others, was this sense of impact. I wanted to help more deeply, and help more broadly. And what I realized was that it was not only the things that I did, but it was how I did it. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about here this morning. Now, one thing that I will tell you is that every time I speak, I always thank those people, those educators who put up with me, who dealt with my antics, who dealt with my questions, and enabled me to learn. Because it is because of learning that I am here in front of you today. I am a first-generation high school graduate, both parents being immigrants, both from different countries, both spoke a different language. God knows how they got together. But anyway, that's another story. So let me clue you in on what I want you to take away from the next 11 minutes and 56 seconds. You not only matter, but what you do changes the world. So that's the little-known secret, but you do it every day. Every day that you offer somebody a new nugget of information, a new skill that they can introduce into their toolkit, or perhaps a better informed perspective or opinion. Don't underestimate what you do. You really are changing the world. Now let's get on with it. So let me tell you a little bit about Igloo Coolers. I think all of you, if you are the average American, has 4 somewhere in your home. And you're saying, oh no, go check that garage, they're there. Anyway, every 6 seconds somewhere in the world, an Igloo Cooler is sold. I tell you this, you can see here our headquarters in Katy, Texas. Ring any bells? It will in just a moment. Outside of Houston, Texas. We have a 1.8 million square foot manufacturing facilities. We do all of our manufacturing in the United States, except for components part and soft side, which are done in China. And so, you know, I always tell people that I've got a big fancy title, but there's only one word that matters. Senior Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer. If you're a human at Igloo, you're mine. And so, whether it's development, performance management, whether it is leadership or supervisory instruction, all of that falls under my aegis, my responsibility, including now disaster recovery. But we'll get to that. Houston, Texas, you watch the news. So, why do people show up? Why do people come to work at Igloo Product Corp every day? And they do, 365 days a year, except for the last 6.5 days, the first week of September. Our purpose, our vision, is to enable the pursuit of happiness. Now, think about this. When was the last time you had a cooler with you for some event and you didn't have a good time? You always have a good time with the cooler because there's always good stuff in the cooler, right? So we pursue happiness internally and also for and with our customers. Now, there was a time, that like everything, that you just grunted and groaned and you learned on the job. That wasn't working for us. When I came 2 years ago, our attrition was through the roof and learning was nil. And what we found out was that we needed to create integrated training and integrated performance within the organization. Now, if you think about it, think of the time, not all that long ago, when training was really a thing. You would train someone to learn how to take an order. Thank you, Deborah, for sharing your readers. Mine have gone missing. And you would instruct someone how to take an order as a waiter or waitress. Would you like to start your meal with a cocktail? Yes. Yes, I've done that job. You might instruct someone on how to properly operate a piece of equipment. There are 15 steps. Start A, 1, 2, 3. Do not step out of order and make sure you check all the boxes. Okay? Done that job too. The third thing. Thank you for calling X, Y, and Z. Yes, your balance is, your payment is due. Thank you for calling. We appreciate your membership. Right? We told all of these people how to do that thing, but it was very isolated. And one of the things I learned a while ago was that we worked and we trained within a culture. And that's really the key. So when you think about it, our culture at Igloo is one of the culture of commitment. We not only tell people and we recruit people and we encourage people through performance management and all sorts of developmental opportunities, not only how they will work, but how they will treat one another, which is absolutely paramount. There will be no dead bodies in people's wake as we go along life's way. We promise to appear to trust others. We promise to appear that we will honor and respect all of those who show up. We have 20 nations represented, 11 languages that are spoken on a daily basis, and I have a full-time translator who sits next to me most days because more Spanish is spoken than English. So understand that learning actually has to fit in to the culture, and that's what we're talking about in terms of integration here. So we do all of these things. We train on plastics forming and maintenance operations, safety and marketing, sales. We do all of that. The key is, how do you tie them together? Well, let me give you one example very quickly. When we looked at our safety record, it was okay, but it wasn't great. And we committed that everyone would go home in the same condition, albeit a little tired, when they left work every day. And so what we did is we looked at the safety training. Well, we brought you in, and we sat you down for 2 days, and we thumped it in your head and hoped that you would walk away. Well, that violated everything we know about the way adults learn. They need novelty and context. My own studies in neuroscience and learning tell me very clearly, you've got to tell people what's different. Of course I want to be safe. You think I want to have something happen to me? No. Well, novelty allows people to understand what's different. We're not talking clowns and balloons novelty. We're talking about what is unique and what is different. And then, in terms of context, where does it fit? Now, I've had many people tell me, oh, I don't need the context, just give me the facts. That's absolutely incorrect, because adults need to know what to do with that information. When we integrated safety training in orientation, in our daily stand-up morning meetings, in our monthly supervisors reviews, and our quarterly associates all-hands meetings, our safety record improved by more than 50%. We have done the integration of learning throughout our functions, marketing, sales, HR, you name it. And you know what's happened? Attrition has dropped by 50%. So I often talk about 3 things in terms of knowing what's important. Environment, know where you work and how the place rolls. Relationships. None of us get through this world by ourselves, and this surely is not one of them. Externalities. These are all important. We've talked about culture and how you work and who you work with is absolutely paramount. Understand it and really step back and look at that big picture. But let's talk about world forces, or as this picture connotes, Mother Nature. This is Hurricane Harvey. She dumped 20 trillion gallons, with a T, folks, on Houston in 3 days. I had 5.5 feet of water in my backyard. 39,000 homes were destroyed, 500,000 cars totaled. Estimates of losses exceed $110 billion. 50 Igloo families were seriously impacted. 15 lost everything they owned. So you may say, well, how does that got to do anything with learning? We had learned, based on the 500-year flood of April of 2016, we needed to train people for emergency preparation. What was the result of that training? April of 2016, we were down for 10 days. At $1 million a day, roughly $10 million that we lost. This year, Harvey, far worse cataclysmic Mother Nature event. We were down for 6.5 days. We saved $3.5 million just by helping people get ready, not only at work, but at home. So I said I would talk a little bit about your future. The secret, you are it. I do HR. I'm responsible for benefits. I'm responsible for recruiting and talent acquisition. All of those 20 things, including disaster recovery now. But I will tell you, without learning, none of it matters. And that's why I want you to engage with me to encourage and engage upon a new campaign. We have got to get everyone committed to lifelong learning. And for those of you who are not degree-oriented, I like getting a piece of paper after I finish something. You can tell, look at my resume. Not everybody's wired that way. But people do need to read and they do need to know basic math. So even if you don't have a high school diploma, you need to make sure you're acquiring those skills so that you are competitive, that you are able to do the jobs that are out there that will allow you and your family to live a good life. I will tell you, it's been my experience that we are great examples for our kids. I'm first-generation high school graduate. I hold a doctorate. Our daughter is an MD. Our son is about to get his PhD in toxicology. That just doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you reinforce education and you encourage it. And that's what we've got to do. So whether it's a degree, and that is really irrelevant, skills, knowledge, and informed opinion will make our nation better. Let's make sure that adolescents understand that it's not just a cell phone, it's not just a tweet, even though now Twitter is expanding their characters. We need to understand that we have to be able to communicate physically, verbally, and in person. So I ask you to help integrate this lifelong learning in everything you do. Encourage people, model, role model all of this. I assure you, that's the prize that we're really looking for. Training should increase productivity. Training should result in skill acquisition. It should and can result in cheaper, faster, better, maybe. But at least you'll have a good start on it. So from our home to yours, even though ours is a little soggy right now, we wish you cold drinks, warm smiles, and lots of lasting memories. Thank you.